Everybody, it's Matt Mayoko from NBC Sports Bay Area checking in after the 49ers 38-13 victory over the Chicago Bears, looking more like the 49ers of old. And by old, I mean the 2023 season and even seasons before that, where the offense was clicking, the defense was swarming, and they played a pretty good all-around game. So we'll talk a lot about what we saw and kind of how it sets the 49ers up for the future. But first, this is brought to you by Canyon Club Brewery in Moraga, California. It's a brewery with a wide selection of beers, also a restaurant with a wide selection of menu items, and it's located in a very family-friendly atmosphere in Moraga. Nice beer garden, fire pits, all of that. And it's coming soon to the Livery in Danville. So keep an eye out for that. Canyon Club Brewery. Okay, so Brock Purdy put together a game with a passer rating of 145.4, and things were just clicking from the beginning of this game. It was quite apparent early on, the big pass completion to Isaac Guerendo and then George Kittle, and then the drive is capped by the first of two touchdown passes, Brock Purdy to Juwan Jennings. Guerendo stepped in, only his second start since high school. Isn't that amazing? 5 years at Wisconsin, 1 year at Louisville, never started a game until the Holiday Bowl of his final season with Louisville. The running back on that team decided to opt out of the bowl game. Guerendo gets the start. And here we are, week 13 of the NFL season, after a preseason injury to Elijah Mitchell, after Christian McCaffrey, who missed the first 8 games of the season, goes down with a posterior cruciate ligament injury in Buffalo, after Jordan Mason, who started some games this year, 6 games this year, goes down with a high ankle sprain. It's the Isaac Guerendo show, and he did not disappoint, although he did leave the game in the fourth quarter with an injury, a foot sprain. Kyle Shanahan said after the game that they didn't really get a good indication of how severe the injury is, what exactly the injury is, but it's a possible foot sprain. But just seeing on the NBC Sports Bay Area 49ers post-game live show, Guerendo seemed to be at his locker and in very good spirits. And so we shall see if he'll be able to bounce back and play Thursday night against the Los Angeles Rams. But Guerendo, going back to his days at Avon High School in Indiana, where he was Mr. Football, he was a wide receiver. And I think that that's something that kind of separates him as far as the backups go, his ability to catch passes out of the backfield, run routes. And he did have a couple of catches, two catches for 50 yards in the first half of this game. And one of them, he just kind of rolled down. Purdy kind of underthrew it, put it out there for him, just wanted to make sure about the completion. Guerendo makes the catch and rolls, stopped at the 1 yard line, and from there he took it in on the first of his two touchdowns. So final line for Isaac Guerendo: 15 carries, 78 yards, two touchdowns. That's a 5.2 yards per carry average, and then the two catches for 50 yards. And then at the end of the game, once Guerendo left to get off, to get him observed and evaluated in the locker room, Patrick Taylor, the backup running back, took over. He had 7 carries for 25 yards and a touchdown. So just the 49ers, like I said, they looked more like the team that we've come to expect. Now, let's also not shy away from the fact that the Bears are really bad. They're a 4-9 team. They've now lost 7 straight games. And if you're expecting the dead cat bounce with Thomas Brown moving into the head coaching position, interim coach for Matt Eberflus, that simply did not happen. In fact, the Bears maybe had the opposite of a bounce from the early parts of the game. That was as thorough of a butt kicking as I've ever seen in an NFL game. 24-0 at halftime, and the stats are simply amazing. The 49ers in the first half gained 319 yards, and the Chicago Bears gained 4 yards. 4 yards total in the first half, and then they scored a couple touchdowns in the second half. The Bears did, but the final score is 38 to 13. And the 49ers, the pass rush We expected the 49ers to be able to generate some pass rush, to get some sacks, and that's exactly what happened. Caleb Williams came into the game, the rookie, number one overall pick from USC, came into the game leading the league, or I should say the worst in the league, 49 sacks through 12 games. 49ers got him seven times on Sunday, including three from Yetur Gross-Matos. Gross-Matos' career high for a season is 4.5 sacks. He did that last year with the Carolina Panthers. This year in 7 games, he had 4 sacks. He has 4 sacks, with three of them coming today. Also, big game for Leonard Floyd, couple of sacks for him. He takes over the 49ers team lead in sacks with 8.5. Nick Bosa, who's missed now 3 games in a row, he has 7 sacks for the 49ers. So the injury report, like I said, Guerendo has the foot sprain. His availability remains to be seen. Ben Barch got the start at left guard. And this was something that I thought was really set up well for the 49ers to get a look at him over the last few games of the season to see if he could potentially be the starter in 2025. However, Ben Barch early in this game goes down with a high ankle sprain. Expect for him to miss some time, and maybe that's a season ender because a similar injury with Jordan Mason last week in Buffalo ends his season as he goes on IR. One of the notable things that happened before kickoff when the 49ers determined that Talanoa Hufanga would be the starter at safety alongside Malik Mustafa. And so what does that say exactly about Jair Brown? I'd say it doesn't say very many positive things because 49ers worked Jair Brown into the lineup last year. He seemed to finish the season strong, had a interception in the Super Bowl against Patrick Mahomes, and he started the first 12 games of the season. Hufanga, of course, kind of a late arrival, didn't have training camp with the torn ACL that he was recovering from November of last year. When Hufanga got into the lineup, he took it was him and Jair Brown as the starters for a couple of games, and then Hufanga hurt his wrist, injured it severely. He was placed on IR. When he comes back, he ends up taking Jair Brown's job. So it really opens up the question of whether the 49ers do consider Jair Brown a long-term starter if at the end of his second year in the NFL, he's getting replaced by Hufanga, who really hasn't played a whole lot of football this season. Um, Other things of note for the 49ers, Brock Purdy, like I said, bounce back game for him, had his lowest uh, output game as far as passing last week in Buffalo, 94 yards. In this game, 20 of 25, 325 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and a yards per attempt, 13 yards per attempt. George Kittle was an animal. A lot of this happened in the first half. Most of the good things for the 49ers, most of the offense came in the first half, but Kittle for the day. 6 passes thrown his way, 6 receptions, 151 yards. Juwan Jennings, 8 passes thrown his way, 7 receptions, 90 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then we talked about Deebo Samuel before the game about just kind of his future. Still hasn't been able to get that thing rolling. He had 5 rushing attempts for only 13 yards, 2.6 yard average, and then 3 passes were thrown his way. He caught 2 of them for 22 yards. So the 49ers offense, the running game was going, high volume of runs. That's always what they try to do. The passing game, the play action passing game was going. They did a lot of different things offensively because they were able to string drives together. And then defensive. The defensive effort was strong. The run defense, the pass defense. It was just a thorough butt kicking victory for the 49ers that runs their record to 6-7. But of course, if it's the 49ers, we also got to talk about special teams. Special teams didn't do much, but I must say, early on in this quote unquote dynamic kickoff rule that the 49ers have, I don't know that any kicker in the league has failed to land 2 kickoffs outside the landing zone or shy of the landing zone, which means that the opposition takes the ball immediately at the 40-yard line. That happened twice today with Jake Moody. Okay, so, 49ers do improve to 6-7. They are now tied in the NFC West for last place with the Arizona Cardinals. I think Seattle now has firm grasp of this thing. Seattle beats Arizona 30 to 18. So that runs their record to 8-5 on the year. The Rams pull off an upset and an impressive victory at SoFi Stadium against the Buffalo Bills. Yes, the same Buffalo Bills that beat the 49ers 35 to 10 last week in the snow. This time the Rams win a shootout 44 to 42 over Buffalo. So the Rams are one game back of Seattle. And let's see what the schedules look like for these teams the rest of the way. Um, for It could come down. It could come down to that final week of the season when you look at the Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks and Rams finished the season at the LA Rams. Before that, it's like I said, Seattle big win today against Arizona. 49ers were hoping that Arizona would win that game to just kind of bunch up all the teams in the NFC West. But Seattle has games against Green Bay, Minnesota. They play at Chicago, and then last game of the season against the Rams. The Rams, of course, after this big win against Buffalo, they come to Levi Stadium on Thursday night. So, which 49er team will show up on Thursday night? Obviously, that is a must win game for the 49ers to keep their faint playoff hopes alive. So, that's what I got. The 49ers just did all the work they needed to do in the first half, and they rolled to that victory, 31 to 13, after scoring 24 points in the first half. One final thing, Kyle Shanahan, my colleague Jennifer Lee Chan asked Shanahan about the speculation that we kind of talked about. Yeah, it was fun to kind of talk about and kind of clickbaitish, but there are a lot of people, or at least there's a big talking point around the national media circles about Kyle Shanahan. Would the 49ers consider trading Shanahan to the Bears? What Shanahan said, and I've often thought that if anything were to happen, it would have to be from Kyle Shanahan's point of view, not from the 49ers point of view. In other words, the 49ers know how difficult it is to find a good coach. Kyle Shanahan is a really good coach. And so, why would you want to go back to the many years where they've tried unsuccessfully to find a head coach who has staying power? And so, you know, have there been times where I thought that Shanahan kind of looked haggard and tired and exhausted and aging in presidential years? I have. But what he said on Sunday was that I don't want to be any place in the world more than here, meaning obviously with the 49ers. And here's the big part. He says, and my family feels just as strong, if not stronger. So in other words, these coaches, their families make a big commitment, make a lot of sacrifices. Coaching is such a nomadic venture where people are always moving across the country, and Shanahan certainly did that through his early life with his dad as a coach. But he says that basically that he wants to remain with the 49ers as long as he can, and his family wants to stay in the Bay Area as long as they can. And so he added, you guys are going to have to kick me out of here. So there's no way I'm looking to make that decision, meaning leaving the 49ers under any circumstances. Okay, so that's the wrap up. 49ers beat the Chicago Bears. Bears lose their seventh straight game. Remember, this was a team that was a Hail Mary pass by the Washington Commanders away from going 5-2 on the season. It's a team that had been playing competitively the last three games, losing to the Lions, the Vikings, and the Packers by a combined 7 points. And this is also a 49ers team that instead of scoring 38 points, um, where did I say? Did I say they scored earlier? I said they scored 31 points. They scored 30. The 49ers scored 38 points. Final score is 38 to 13. They scored 24 points in the first half, 14 points in the second half, two touchdowns. But my point being that this is the third consecutive game the 49ers have been part of a blowout where the winning team had 38 points. So, unlike the game against the Packers, unlike the game against the Buffalo Bills, this time the 49ers are leaving the stadium feeling a heck of a lot better after being on the winning side of a blowout victory, 38 to 13 over the Chicago Bears. Hey, thanks so much for watching this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment. Tell me what you thought of the game. And that is it for now. And also, by the way, listen, make sure you find the 49ers Talk podcast where Jennifer Lee Chan and I will be taping that in just a short period of time. So that's it for now.